We had such amazing feedback on our verse mapping videos that we have done, and our verse map graphics are some of our favorite posts. And so we posed the question to you: is there a favorite verse that you have, or a curious passage that maybe you want us to verse map together with you? And someone commented and gave this passage here. This is James 1 verses 2 through 4, and it is a great one. So I thought we could maybe unpack some of that together today. So he starts out by saying, "Consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials." And right off the bat, you may think, wow, various trials. You know, what is a trial? We all know what a trial is. It's adversity, affliction, trouble. You know, if we've lived on this earth any considerable amount of time, we've gone through a trial, right? And so it kind of seems weird that he would say, consider it all joy. Consider it all joy when you encounter various trials. And who's he talking to? He's talking to his brethren. So that's saved people, okay? So he's telling you and me, if we're saved, consider it joy when you go through these trials, when you go through things that are adversity, affliction, trouble. You are to consider. Consider, that means to count, to think, to deem. So you count it joy when you go through that stuff. Okay, well, like maybe the minor ones, right? No, all of it. All of these trials that you go through, every single part of it should be counted as joy. Wow. So it's not joy. He didn't say it was joy. And I think that's the important part. He says consider it as joy. Okay, well, what is joy? Joy is gladness. Joy is delight. Joy is cheerfulness. So how do you consider a trial in that way? Well, he's saying just reckon it like that. It is not that. But it's kind of like in Genesis 50:20, whenever Joseph said the enemy meant it for evil, but God used it for good. So think of it that way. Think of that trial, all of that, every single part of it, as joy. And then he says when you encounter. So that's a really important word there. It's not if you encounter, it's when you encounter. So like I said, if you've lived on the earth any amount of time, you know that at one point or another you're going to encounter a trial. And so it's not, you know, it might happen, it's going to happen. And so when it does, reckon it in this way. Think about it like that. And I like that word encounter. So when you encounter something, you didn't go looking for it. They come to you. You encountered it. You meet them. And I like how it says various trials. There's not just one kind of trial. There are a ton of different kinds of trials in all shapes and sizes. And so you're to consider each kind, every one that comes to you. Think about it, consider it, count it, think of it as joy when you encounter these trials. But it's kind of interesting that he says knowing. Wow, knowing. Knowing means perceiving, understanding, learning. So think about it like this. Knowing, the whole point is knowing that the testing of your faith. Okay, what does testing mean? Testing means trying something proved to determine trustworthiness. So the testing of your faith. When you encounter trials, you're to consider them good, not because it's a testing of God's faith, it's a testing of your faith. Wow, that's perspective right there. It's a testing of your faith. This is not to test God or his goodness or his faithfulness. You have a trial, you have adversity, you have affliction, you have trouble. God is still good. You have a trial, you have adversity, affliction, trouble. God is still faithful. Okay, so it's you have that knowing, you're perceiving, you're understanding, you're learning that testing, that trying, that's something that's being proved is your faith. Your faith. I love that. Never forget that. It's your faith. And what does it do? It produces endurance. Okay, that word produce means to accomplish, to bring about, resulting in, or achieving. So the testing of your faith is producing something. It's bringing something about. What is it bringing about? It's bringing about endurance. What is endurance? It means patience. It means steadfastness or perseverance, maybe your translation says. So there's a reason for it. Trials are inevitable. It's not if, it's when. They come in all shapes and sizes. And you are to consider them, think about them as all joy, reckon them as all joy. That's how you reckon it. You have a trial, it's just joy. Why? Because you know, you have confident assurance that your faith is being tested, it's being proven. And the fruit of that, what it's going to bring about, the result, is endurance. And what is endurance? It is patience, it is steadfastness, it is perseverance. Okay? I love this. This is so good. And then he says, and let, allow it. Don't prevent it. Let it happen. Let that endurance have its perfect result. You already know what endurance is because we talked about it a while ago. Let that endurance have its perfect result. Okay? Perfect result. So result, that's just a work, a deed. And to this whole phrase here, perfect result, is it's brought to its end. It's finished. It's completed. It's matured. And that's why we see the word again here, perfect and perfect. I love how that's repeated twice. Just like endurance is repeated twice, perfect is repeated twice. Okay? Let it have its perfect result. So let it be brought to its end. Let it be complete and mature. That's in order that, or so that. So why? He tells you because, so that you may be perfect. Again, it's you, it's not God, right? Count it all joy when you encounter various trials of the testing of your faith, that you may be perfect and complete. Okay? So what is may? Doesn't mean that it's automatic. May means, it could, right? It's going to happen. And so you may be perfect and complete. So it's not just perfect, it's perfect and complete and lacking in nothing. Okay? Complete is whole, it's entire, it's without defect, it's without blemish. Lacking in nothing. So to be lacking is to be wanting, it's to fail or leave behind. But you are lacking in nothing. Nobody, no one, nothing. So perfect and complete. You're being made to look more and more and more like Christ, right? I think that's why it's so cool. I love this. I love this whole passage. What are we to do? We're to think about our trials that come in all shapes and sizes, all different manners. Consider all of them, reckon them as joy. It's kind of like an accounting term. How do you reconcile your checkbook? And you find out if you're in the red or the black, right? So you look at all these different trials you have, reckon them all as joy. And you encountered them. You didn't go looking for them. They met you. Okay? So think about it. They're all to be considered joy because you know what's going on. So it's not a blind, oh yeah, it's great, it's joyful. No, he never said trials are joy. So some people get ruffled because they hear this verse and they're like, oh, my trials are supposed to be joy. I'm supposed to have this attitude that trials are joyful. He never said that. He said, consider them all joy because something else is going on. The trial is not joy. It's the process that's taking place. No, it's not good when you have affliction. No, it's not good when there's trouble. God does not call evil good. Okay? That contradicts his word. That contradicts his character and who he is. So your trial, when you're considering all these things that you're going through, the process, what's happening is joy. Why? Because you know that your faith is being tested. It's being proven. And that process it's going to result in endurance. We don't like that. We wish that we could produce endurance in another way, right? Why do I have to go through a trial to produce endurance? Well, you don't always. But when you go through a trial, just know that it's producing endurance. And you say, well, that's great. What does that do? Well, let it. Allow that process to take place. Don't prevent it. Don't fight it. Let it happen because it's going to have its perfect result. Perfect result. That you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. It's building you up, making you who you are, forming you into a mature believer so that you can look more and more and more like Christ. Isn't that the cool process of sanctification? Yeah, it stinks that part of that process is involving trials, but that's the fallen world that we live in. We're going to encounter. Remember, it's when, not if. It's going to happen. You can't prevent a trial from occurring in your life. You didn't cause it. You encountered it. Don't forget that. So this is God's perspective. When we go through things, so often it's easy to get into the world's perspective and say, poor pitiful me, woe is me, I'm a victim, I'm going through this trial. And God's saying, don't look at it that way. Consider it joy, because your faith is being tested and it's producing something for you. It's doing a work inside of you. That trial has produced something. It was not for nothing. It had a purpose. And it's so that you can be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. You are brought to the finished work. What God started, he finishes. He never does things part way. God is not a halfway God. He's not a haphazard God. He is not just flippant with things that he does. He has started something in us, and he's going to bring it to completion. And you can count on that. And it's going to be complete. I love how it says complete. That's whole, entire, without defect, without blemish. You're wanting in nothing. You are destitute in nothing, failing nothing because of the work that happened. Isn't that amazing? What a different perspective when we look at things through the lens of God's word. That's truth, and that's truth we can take to the spiritual bank, right? I love that. I love this verse. I love this passage. I'm so glad that you commented and you shared this. It was fun just digging into this and going through this. And I want you to comment and tell us another verse, another passage that you would like us to study together. We would love to do that with you. Share this video if it was helpful for you. If you know someone going through a trial, would you share this and tag them and help them to be encouraged through today's verse mapping? Also, if you are not a subscriber to Real Life Faith, please go to reallifefaith.com and subscribe to our email list. We have this awesome freebie for you, free download called 7 Ways to Help Those Who Are Suffering. So if you know someone going through a trial, this would be a great way to encourage them. So please go to our website, reallifefaith.com, and hit subscribe, and you'll get this awesome freebie.